So after sipping that disgusting Pepsi Cola, hi, I'm John.
And I'm James.
And this is Games with John and James, episode 2.
Deep Dive, round 2. Party style.
Party style. What's that? It's like animal style?
Yeah, exactly. It's John and James style. We party with our games now.
We get sloppy, real sloppy animal style up in here. Get that sauce out.
Ooh, my game, yes.
So staying actually on topic, we're here to talk about the perfect video game. So I want to clarify that statement right away. So a perfect video game doesn't mean that it's absolutely flawless or anything like that. The way I like to typify it when I talk about perfect video games is you can't think of something you could remove or add to it to make it better. So there are a few examples, and of course we're going to dive into that today. But I wanted to ask you, do we want to break it down like by genre? Because
well, I mean, I think every genre has one or two games that, like you said, we can't add to, we can't take away from. So, like, if you guys listen to our last episode, as you know, JRPGs are my jam. And as you know, John mentioned a couple games that were the pinnacle as well. For me, like, I think every genre definitely has a few games that we can't take away from. Like, if we do, it's incomplete. Like, it is such a well-rounded and perfect example that I think we should go by genre, you know?
Yeah, and for that too, like also, I mentioned it last episode, but this is one of those times where you do kind of want to throw the concept of objectivity out the window. You're hearing two people with very different approaches for why they like and play video games talk about their favorites. So if you find something that you love or you think, like, oh, I think I could improve that some way, like, let us know. Leave a comment. But, like, there's a reason why I'm just going to steal this one right away. For puzzle games, Tetris is a perfect video game. It just is. You can't do anything except make it, like, aesthetically different, and it's still the same perfect video game.
I mean, let's be honest. We need to thank Russia for this. Thank you, Russia, for letting that one guy weirdly get his game out there through all those weird 80s memes.
Dude, Alexei Pajitnov is a genius computer programmer, and if you actually read the story, shout out to the gaming historian because he did a whole like hour-long special on the story of Tetris.
Oh, I remember that. It was so cool because you in the story you get to go from his concept, and all of the engineers there, like all of the computer engineers, they were bored, so they created their own forms of entertainment to just kind of stay happy. And if you can imagine, and we're talking 1980s super communist Russia, like...
You have to do anything to stay happy.
Yeah, exactly. Entertainment is very few and far... Oh, look, potato.
I wonder if that's racist against Russian people.
Well,
They're white like us, it's fine.
So, Tetris it's such an awesome example because even here in America, like, it took off. If you were around to play the old school 4 batteries Game Boy, like the original Game Boy, Tetris came with Game Boy.
Yep.
Like, you have arrived when your game is just launched into the stratosphere with every handheld purchase.
Well, the thing, it's also funny, it's mentioned in the video, the gaming historian video, he talks about it, where like when they made the Game Boy and they thought about like, okay, so how do we sell it? What pack-in game do we give with it? And I think it's a sign of the times when it comes to marketing. They were going to put Mario in there, and they decided against it because they had Mario Land ready to go. And they said, if you ship this with Mario Land, the Game Boy will be for little boys. If you ship it with Tetris, it'll be for everyone. And sure enough, they were right.
Wait, so my parents are a big proponent of why I got into video games. Like, my dad, he had the regular Nintendo. I got to play Legend of Zelda. That was one of my very first games. And Tetris, to this day, my mom, she is almost in her 60s. She will play Tetris, and she will probably beat anybody I know. She is a savage in that game. You think you're doing good, and then all of a sudden, my mom looks over, she gives you that little shrug of the shoulders, like, yeah, you're all right. Here's a Tetris. Eat another Tetris. Eat another Tetris. Oh, you thought I was losing? No, I'm just punishing you.
Yeah, it's funny because, well, my knuckles cracked. That's funny, but
John's dying slowly.
Yeah, I mean, my bones are just going to melt one day. But,
Video games destroy your bones.
yeah, exactly. Just sit down long enough, you'll become a potato yourself. Anyway,
Thank you, Russia.
thank you, Russia, for it's like it's a secret communist plot to make Americans so busy playing video games that they don't do anything else.
We will turn the Americans into the potato finally.
Well, it's working. What I was going to say, again, perfect video game, you can't add or remove something like that, but the only thing that I can think of that they changed over the course of the years of iterations of Tetris is you can save a piece, and if you hit up on the joystick, it snaps down.
Yeah,
only two things that have changed.
That's you're very right on there, but also let's not forget Tetris 99. They added a really cool battle royal where you're competing against 99 other people, and it's still all of the Tetris mechanics, but now you can target other people. You see them trying to punish you a little bit. It's like, oh, okay, I've got you. I've saved this lineup. It's switch over to whoever was targeting you. Boom, drop a Tetris.
Yep.
Drop another Tetris. Wipe them out.
Yeah.
Like, Tetris 99, in my opinion, is one of the most fun games you can play when it comes to just a very non-competitive battle royal. Because it doesn't matter if you get first. It doesn't matter if you get 99th. It's just fun, and it's chaos, and it's well-organized, well-polished chaos.
And again, we're talking about like the iterations and the way that this video game is perfect. The only, like, again, they had those two changes I mentioned, but in terms of like making a new Tetris game, you pitch it as like, okay, it's Tetris, but with really trippy visuals and cool music. That's Tetris Effect. It's Tetris, but it's multiplayer. Okay, Tetris 99. It's Tetris, but it's, a sphere. Oh, so it's round Tetris. Okay, cool. Like, the fundamental game itself has not changed. It has always been the same, meaning perfect video game. Perfect puzzle video game.
Tetris is the pinnacle of what it can do. And one of the big things we want you guys to do when you hear about this, like, tell us what you think on our Facebook, our Instagram. Like, let us know what you think a perfect video game is. Because at the end of this, I would love for everybody to go and give it a shot. Challenge what we're talking to you about. See if, hey, is Tetris really this good? Are they just blowing smoke up my butt?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah, what are your perfect video games? Sound off in the comments. Let us know. But yeah, Tetris I brought up mainly as an example, but I think...
It's the best example. Like, when you think about it, it was made in the early 80s. It had no right leaving Russia. So, like John said, shout out to the gaming historian. Like, if you get the opportunity, give that a watch. It's about an hour long, and you get to see this was almost smuggled out of Russia in order to reach the masses. It's still a dominant game that even today you're getting Puyo Puyo Tetris, Tetris 99. It's still relevant. Like, a Tetris game literally just came out in 2021. That is over 30 years of history right there. And that is insane to think about. So, I think that's the best example we could go to start this off.
Meanwhile, I'm just sitting here and I'm like, I remember the old days where people would complain about Dynasty Warriors and how Dynasty Warriors is the same game every single time. I'm all like, why aren't you complaining about Tetris?
You can't. What do you, even the music, like, I think that's like the best thing for me in Tetris. Like,
oh my god.
Level 1, it's just like slow and it's kind of techno-y. You hit like level 9 and it's just like, I'm going to ramp up the beat to like 200 a minute. And it's just like, oh my god, like, it induces the manicness.
What's also funny too is I think about Alexei Pajitnov actually said in an interview where he's like, all of this classical Russian music that they put in the game across like Nintendo platforms and all sorts of stuff, people hear that and think, oh, the Tetris song. And I'm like, I don't think that's good for Russian culture.
Hey, look, I mean, what better way to say I'm Russian than Tetris? Let Russia play you.
Vodka and Tetris. Sounds like a good Friday night.
Potato and Tetris.
Just sitting on the couch, like he's got a controller.
How many times can I use the word potato?
I say, if Idaho Spuds would like to sponsor us, we'll take free Idaho Spuds. Anyway, so that was the example I wanted to start us off with. So I wanted to open the floor to you, because I have my example is kind of in my head already. So in terms of, and we touched on it briefly, we play games for very different reasons. So I'm assuming you're going to pick an RPG.
Actually, I'm going to surprise you here. It's one we actually talked about in the last episode as, quoting you here, a seminal moment in gaming, Half-Life 2.
Half-Life 2. Okay, tell me about it.
So you have Half-Life 2 come out, and shooters have been around for a while. Like, it was fun. It was like point in the same direction, shoot in that direction. Bullets will kind of fly everywhere. Half-Life 2 comes around. It's still relevant today. You can look at your battle royals, your Apex Legends, your Fortnite, your Warzones. All of the mechanics that you get to utilize have taken from Half-Life 2. Like aiming in different areas to where your aim actually matters. Its mechanics engine, like its physics engine, is literally used in everything. And the
Havoc physics engine. I remember when that came out and they were like demoing it at E3s and stuff, and people were like, "Whoa, what?"
And if I'm not mistaken, like that engine's actually in games that aren't even shooters anymore. Like, wasn't Control here a recent game? Like Control utilized some of the Havoc engine for the shenanigans you could pull with the telekinesis.
Yeah, and we talked about it also briefly when we mentioned it in the IGN Top 64 bullcrap.
The list that should never exist.
The list that shall not be named. But in Half-Life 2, the way that Gabe Newell described it was, we want technology and like game narrative and gameplay to be a cohesive thing. So that's why they've always tried to push technology as well as the game. So that's why you had physics puzzles. That's why the gameplay felt so fresh, because you didn't see that stuff ever. And it's one of those things too where I think about my own kind of age in terms of video games. Where
John is very old, mind you. He's pushing 95 in gamer years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been through 5 decades. I remember what a joystick is.
Get off my lawn. You're not as good as I thought you were, video game.
Get off my lawn, Fortnite. No, but what I'm saying is that like I remember when first-person shooters, every first-person shooter, that genre didn't exist. They were called Doom clones. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they were, because Doom was the one that did it. And like,
Doom was the only one that got it right for a while.
Yeah, and that was also iterated off of things like Wolfenstein, whatever. We can talk about the nuances of all that kind of stuff, but keeping it with Half-Life 2, nothing plays like Half-Life. Nothing plays like a Valve video game.
It's a real testament when your company produces perfection. Every video game that Valve does, there are elements of perfection in it. And Half-Life 2, for all of the games that they have released, Half-Life 2, that's the pinnacle. It's my bar for any type of shooter, any type of first-person shooter, third-person shooter. I have to beat this bar. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's not as graphically appealing as your newer stuff, your Borderlands, your Apex Legends, whatever, but some of those games, in my opinion, they don't even beat the Half-Life 2 bar. Yeah. Like, come on.
It's also because people are so quick to write off certain genres and certain types of games, like
visual novels. What's that?
Why would I want to read a video game? No, but
every RPG nerd ever.
How dare you? No, but what I'm saying is, like, you mentioned a bunch of first-person shooters there, and each one of them feel different. And people are really quick to cast off, like, oh, another shooter. It's like, well, no. Think about what Half-Life did, and think about things that other first-person shooters do. Because you will play the story mode of a Call of Duty game, and you will never get something as weirdly intimate or foreboding or even just as, like, immersive as a Half-Life 2. And as I sit here and think about it, I remember being a kid and playing the first one. And literally my entire afternoons would just disappear because I'm in Black Mesa and I'm trying to survive. And also, again, a testament to actual design philosophy. Gabe Newell said, like, I'd play for people who think of first-person shooters like, oh, you're a shooter in a shooting gallery, like a guy with a gun in a shooting gallery. Whereas for him, and the mood that he wanted to facilitate was, no, I'm a target in a shooting gallery. And that kind of sets up like, oh, wow, like that's a completely different mindset than literally any other game.
When you have the ability to stand out in the room of a bunch of copycats, you've arrived. And Valve, they seem to find that magic with almost every game they make. It's even, look at Half-Life Alyx. Half-Life Alyx still has that magic. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy for that. Like, we're going to get Call of Duty 97,420,000 here sooner or later. And
We're already there.
Oh yeah, it's going to be Call of Duty: Fight on Mars.
Can we please get a collaboration between Activision and Ubisoft to make like a Call of Assassin's Creed? And it's just the most derivative piece of garbage on the planet.
Which Ezio do you choose this time?
Do you choose the one with the camo print hood or the standard white?
I'd like a crossbow, please. With a side of napalm.
Side of napalm. What, are you going to drink it and spit it on people?
No,
see, if they did that, that'd be fun and interesting, which they don't do in Call of Duty.
No, the napalm crossbow, man. Just soak the bolt.
Take that, endless fire. Anyway, do you have more to say on that, or?
I mean, so I think I would say that's another example of a very perfect video game. Like we could talk all day in regards with Half-Life 2, with its mechanics, its design, everything that transfers over. But we have a few more that we want to get into. And since I surprised John with that one, because he was fully expecting me to say what I'm about to say, Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I had to let that hang because we talked about it in the last episode, but even for me, as someone who has very little patience for any type of I like narrative-driven games, but I also like my agency as a player. Like, I want the thing that I'm doing to matter to me as a player as well as a character in a video game. Chrono Trigger did that with an RPG, and not a lot of those games do that.
It literally did it on the Super Nintendo, no less. If you look at RPGs nowadays, it's a lot of spectacle. You have the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which graphically pushed the PS4 Pro to its limits. Now on the PS5, you get to see it even better. Like, that's cool. And I love Final Fantasy VII, and I was super happy to see.
Oh, you like Final Fantasy VII? That's a shock.
I know, right? Who would have thought? Screw 8, though. 8, it's the bastard child of the series.
Ouch.
I know. I have made my statement. And I will gladly talk about it with you if you ever want.
Leave us a comment. Say Final Fantasy VIII is the best.
But as awesome as the spectacle of a new JRPG is, a lot of them feel a little shallow. So, unfortunately, with the JRPG genre, you fall into a lot of tropes. You fall into I'm fighting God, the silent protagonist, the high school dating simulator.
Tropes. It's all tropes.
And that's cool. Some do it really well. Persona does the high school thing really well. Fighting God is done pretty well in the Dragon Quest series. But Chrono Trigger decided to say, you know what? Yeah, I have a trope in Chrono.
Time travel, too.
Yeah, well, it set the bar for time travel. That wasn't the trope at the day.
Yeah.
Like, Chrono was the silent protagonist. So we have a little bit of a trope there. But after it hits you, the music captivates you. And music on the Super Nintendo wasn't good. Like, it was...
You get some people to fight you on that one.
So, fair. Like, I will give credit. Like, there are some really cool musical moments, but let's be real, folks. It's the Super Nintendo. It's the 90s. It's not the best quality of music we could have until you burst onto like the PlayStation, the 64, the GameCube.
Even then, like, it was just MIDI sound fonts and stuff like that. Like, people did what they could, but everybody talks about like, the freaking opera scene in Final Fantasy VI, right?
Yeah, Final Fantasy VI. Yeah, that opera scene. Like, 6 is another. So 6 was the title I also want to talk about. So I'm going to hold John on that one. But you have time travel in Chrono Trigger. You have combat mechanics that have been like new games coming out, indie games coming out, pay homage to Chrono Trigger. Like, combat in the vein of Chrono Trigger is a common advertising. Will give you Chrono Trigger vibes. Lost Sphere touted itself for feels like Chrono Trigger. I Am Setsuna feels like Chrono Trigger. And they do, but they're not Chrono Trigger. And when we talk about the perfect video game, you have defined arcs within the story. You have, hey, I start on this time travel journey. I see that my world has gone to shit. Oh no, I'm gonna stop it. Into recruiting your party members, correcting issues throughout time, till eventually you fight the big baddie. And then it did what very few things did at the time. It murdered the main character. Like, if you've played the DS version, there's literally an anime cutscene where Chrono looks like he's a deer in the headlights as Lavos hyper beams the shit out of him, and he's just like, oh, there's a god. Dead.
I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord. He tried to get it in, but he couldn't.
It was such a visceral and emotional moment because you're like, it sucked you in. You were vested in the story. And in my opinion, it's what we have to hold. Like Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, as we're talking about right now, we have to hold JRPGs accountable in that level. A lot of them, it's rinse, repeat, cookie cutter this, cookie cutter that. We've leaned very heavily into the anime-esque JRPGs, which it's cool. Like, I love the Tales of series. Love it to death. I love indie RPGs like Dragonstar Varnir, Death End Request, but...
He's legit, y'all. For real.
Yeah, if you saw my living room, it is a mecca of JRPGs, and then my wife.
Underneath all the body pillows.
It's happy wife or JRPGs. Ooh, I'm trying to balance it.
Oh, I gotta sell my house, girl.
So, I mean, when it comes to what we can touch on for mechanics, for story, stopping power, and just standing the test of time, because a lot of old video games, they don't age well. They're very fun to play. Like, nostalgia is a very real thing.
It's a hell of a drug.
Like, John can attest to this. Like, there's a lot of new games coming out that he's had me try. Windjammers, for example. Like, you play it, and it has Super Nintendo, Sega, like, kind of feels in the graphics.
I will tell you right now that is actually a game from 1994.
Exactly. Okay, see, I didn't know that. Like, it's a game from 94 that got brought back. So nostalgia is a hell of a thing. And that's cool. And Chrono Trigger definitely will give you that scratch on the nostalgia itch. But it's still something that every gamer has to play. And when it's on a list like that as well, it's perfection in a bottle. Like, no one has been able to fully replicate what Chrono Trigger did. Chrono Cross?
Dude, yeah.
No. That is like the that is like the
I like the immediate no.
So, Chrono Cross by itself, very good game. I'm very polarized on this as John is like smiling over there. He's like, oh boy, here it comes.
Wait for episode 6 where we're still talking about it.
Video games we hate.
Imperfect video games. Oh, all other video games. Got it.
You listen to our list. Everything else is trash.
Who are these boys coming in here trying to tell us how to play our video games?
But like Chrono Cross, you had Masato Kato, who transitioned over from the team. And even stated, it's not a sequel. It's its own game. And it's a lot of fun. Like, I enjoy the leveling mechanic, how you can only level up from bosses. Mm-hmm. The story's all over the place. 45 recruitable characters is ridiculous.
What I'm sensing immediately from just that initial description is the heart of the game is not the same. You mentioned the mechanics right away, and not necessarily the character or the story.
What character? There's 45 of them. Like, what do I even mention?
That's what I'm saying. Is like, so when we say perfect video games, they have to appeal to the certain sensibilities, and I'll harp on it every time. And I may be projecting here, but like for you, it is very much character, story, and like narrative driven.
Exactly.
For me personally, I've always viewed things, okay, mechanics wise, like is this sound, and player character agency. So even in a story, even in like a story like Chrono Trigger's, the conflict is happening directly to you as the player and you as the character. And that's where the emotional heart comes in.
Like, how did you feel? Like, when you've played Chrono Trigger, John, how did you feel that moment, like, your character dies?
I was shocked because, like, I was admittedly pretty young. I don't know how, like, I was probably in, like, middle school or high school, I think. So, I haven't played it really since. I played it a couple times. But I remember really vividly, like, did they just do that? It was, you know how people talk about Aerith's death?
Mm-hmm,
every chance they fucking can. Like, they do that every time. And it's just like, oh, I knew exactly where I was. And when that happened, I'm all like, use Phoenix down. But
I'm okay.
I'm okay, Cloud. Shink. That has been...
No, stay dead. Stay dead.
Just holding her underwater. Oh, that's dark. That's dark. No.
So he's Titanicking her. That's so rude.
Oh, for fuck's sake. We can... Okay, this isn't... We'll start a movie podcast and we'll talk about how that's fine. We'll do one episode. But no, what I'm saying is
John and James branch out.
John and James sink the Titanic. I thought it was the Iceborg. It was two guys with an RPG. No, but I completely lost my train of thought. But what I'm finding in your description of this is that the way that we look at video games is exemplified through the lens of other video games.
Absolutely.
That's what makes like listening to reviews insufferable, because they're like, oh, it's an action game. And I'm like, just say what it's like. You're going to say what it's like. It's like Devil May Cry meets God of War. It's like, see, there it is.
You hear that? He's saying we're insufferable because we're reviewing some games. I'm on to you, John.
We haven't done that yet.
I know where you live.
Save it until we get money.
Don't worry, folks. I'm going to take him out back. I'm going to teach him a lesson. He will respect Chrono Trigger.
It's my podcast, Ma. I'll do it.
But I honestly, like, I could keep talking about Chrono Trigger and I could keep singing its praises. But I want to transition to another game we actually mentioned.
I get 3 as well now, so now I have to think of 3. Fuck.
Well, this one's kind of a mutual. Okay. Like I told you before, I didn't get to experience a lot of Xbox 360, the later years of the PS2, or the PS3. I came back into console gaming in the PlayStation 4, and BioShock came out while I was super hardcore into World of Warcraft. Like, I'm talking, I'd work 40 hours, raid 40 hours, maybe find sleep a little bit.
You had 2 jobs, basically.
Exactly. 3. Sleep was basically a job at that point because I just wanted to play WoW.
Could you imagine you with a little stocking cap clocking in like, all right, bedtime?
It's the Ivy. Must get my WoW. But
if they could liquefy World of Warcraft, people would buy it.
That would be terrifying.
Wait, it's called Game Fuel. Gross. Gross.
But when BioShock came out, a lot of people that were in my guild, they were MIA for certain raids. They were missing out on guild activities because it immersed them. Mm. I haven't played the game, but after John spoke about it, I was like, you know what? I want to see if what he's talking about is right. So I actually watched some video on it. I got to watch some Let's Plays, some reviews, some walkthroughs. And holy shit, that game, it was awesome. Like, I am proud to say I am actively trying to find an original copy to where I can go and experience it in its original state. Like, it just looks fun. And tell me what you think, John, because I see you like.
I want to jump in. I want you to have your time because you brought the game up. But like for me, as someone who played it, not only when it first came out, but has come back to play it a couple times now. We talk about. It's also funny that 2 of our most perfect games ever are also first-person shooters. But
shooters, we do it right.
It's what's for dinner. No, what I'm saying is when I play BioShock. And I think about, again, what matters as a player, what matters as a character, and the actual mechanics. And that was the most it's like the tight script of video games. That's how I describe it. Because, and I won't spoil it for just in case somebody hasn't played it, unless you know the twist already, then I'll say it. But
oh, no. So, it is perfectly fine. You can talk about it. You can spoil it. Like, I have watched everything you can imagine on it, the cutscenes and everything. I am still vested.
So you know what happens.
Exactly. I am still going to commit to playing this game because it just looks fun as hell.
It is so. I just want to tie it up with it's so cool. Like it's a cool video game that did everything right. The atmosphere building is perfect. The way that they explore the narrative through things like audio logs and the survivors that are still in Rapture, and of course the freaking amazing twist ending that you do not see coming at all, and the reveal of the final boss. Everything about that is wonderful. And even to the point where like one of the achievements that you get is like one of the missions you get, and I'm terrible with names. I haven't played in a while, so I need to go back and get it.
Oh, look, John's going to be playing this right there with me, folks.
So there you go. But it's the guy's, hedonistic garden, and you have like photos of the people you had to kill, and you put him on his mantle. You can kill him and put him on the mantle, and then that gives you an achievement. I'm just like, again, tight script. That's amazing. Like, you don't think about that stuff your first playthrough, but you're like, hold on. And it's moments like that that show that the people, the design team, the director, like everybody on board was just into it and made it the best it could be. But again, perfect does not mean flawless, even though that sounds like a misnomer. The one thing I can criticize about that video game, the endings are terrible. Because you've seen everything you've seen, so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so one of the things that you do in that game is you try to either save or harvest the little sisters who are protected by the big daddies, and it's all part of like the inner workings of the story, right?
I'm not gonna lie. Like when I was looking into this and I was like doing my research to check this out, like those big daddies, like the music, the aura, the ambiance, like everything shifts.
Peak monster design.
And I'm like, oh, okay. I haven't been this vested in a monster. Shameless Chrono Trigger plug here, folks, since Lavos.
And what's funny is there's multiple. It's a recurring bad guy. It's not like the main antagonist of the game, but it has this huge presence to it. It's great. But the thing I wanted to get to about the endings. Now, again, like, you know, through the narrative of the game, it's like, you know, these like crazy sea slugs that give you atom and powers and juice. You can shoot lightning out of your hands, whatever. The game will explain it for you. Will explain it for me. If you choose to save the little sisters, you escape rapture with all of them, and you basically raise them as their daughters, and they go off and lead these amazingly wonderful, fulfilling lives. They like get married, fall in love, go to college, do everything, and they meet you at your deathbed. That's in the actual cutscene for the video game. If you get the bad ending, you take all the little sisters, you get all the powers, you get all the atom, and you basically raise nukes and blow up the world. So it's
the power of choice, people.
It's the most cartoonishly over the top crazy bullshit that I'm glad they went for, but I'm just sitting back like, are you kidding me? Like, either it's too sweet or it's too bitter, and I'm just like, you know what? I'll segue that into another point. Morality systems in video games. Only like one game that I've personally played has done it right.
It's not a morality system, but you remember the insanity meter in Eternal Darkness on the GameCube?
I do.
That was an entertaining meter. Just like having a morality meter is really cool. Like your actions, you know, sparking consequence. Fable, actually, remember that? Like you're either good or you're just doing everything like a jerk and becoming a devil.
Yeah, you're kicking the chicken. And the thing that I always laugh about is if you get more evil morality points by divorcing your wife than just straight up killing her. And I'm like, someone should have thought about either that it's a joke and it's funny, or someone should have thought about that.
As John is talking, I see his horns growing right here. His morality meter is very skewed.
I'm Paragon, baby. No. Wait, what's the 2 in Mass Effect? I don't remember. I don't play that game.
He's Diablo.
I wish. But no. Just quick sidebar, like, I'm not a furry, but I wish I had horns. That'd be cool. Just headbutt people. So I'm trying to think, as I'm sitting here, as we're getting off track here, but like the thing about BioShock, again, a perfect video game. It did what it set out to do and did it pretty perfectly. And that's why I say it's a perfect video game.
Yeah, it's... Long pause, folks. Like,
let the silence hang, man.
I know, like... It's hard to describe when you find these games because they are very few and far in between. Like if you look at what we've talked about, you have early 80s Russian smuggled game that was primarily played on computers before coming over to a console.
To everything.
Like to Half-Life 2 in the 2000s, to Chrono Trigger in the 90s, and now we're talking about BioShock in the late 2000s, almost 2010s. Like, that's few and far in between.
For real.
And, like, this isn't to take away from other games. Like, games are meant to be played, to have some fun, and we each appreciate a game in our own avenue. Like, some people may love Ghost of Tsushima. They may love Sekiro. They may love Dark Souls. I'm purposely doing this to see if John gets mad with all these Soul-style games.
You see my face, I'm just like...
He's grimacing, folks. Yeah. He's about to chuck the microphone at me. I'm going to see if my dodge skill is there.
I say you better dodge roll. If you talk about all this Souls bull crap, but like, well, so I wanted to chime in on what you were saying. So like, we're saying perfect video game, not our favorite video game. You know what I mean? Because like, I can sit here and be like, oh yeah, I love Sonic the Hedgehog. That's by no means a perfect video game. Some people would even say it's a bad video game. What I'm saying is a perfect video game is like one of those things where people talk about their perfect movies, right? And the way I described Bioshock was the tight script. So like on repeated viewings or repeated playthroughs, you come back every time and you're like, you like it more, or you understand why you like it better. For me, as someone who grew up, I played Sega Genesis as a kid, and I thought about all of those games I played.
Sega.
Mm-hmm. We won't put the Sega chime in here because that scares my girlfriend. But anyway, I'll cut that. Never mind. Whatever. But
I know what I'm doing for Halloween, folks.
you didn't dress up as the Sega logo and stalk me.
Oh, I could be Sega de Sanchiro.
Oh my god.
Sega de Sanchiro!
Duh. That was a great ad campaign. I just wish they did it in America. But anyway, what I'm saying is like I think about all of the games I played, and I played great games, mediocre games, lousy games, all sorts of running the gamut of every genre possible. That's why I always sing the praises of Shining Force 2, because I freaking love that game.
Oh, that was a classic.
I like it more than Fire Emblem, for God's sake. But because it had like a sense of humor, and I actually liked that in my video games. Anyway, but I come back and play some of those games, I'm like, what the hell did I see in this? Like, so to that point, I want to talk about another perfect, to me, video game, Gunstar Heroes.
So I can't speak to this, folks. Like, I haven't played it.
Yes, you have.
Wait.
Yeah, we played it together.
Oh, I stand corrected, folks. I am just really bad at my memory.
you just blacked that out. You're just like, it was too perfect. No, but well, so let me just go on about it.
Oh wait, was that the one with like the bullshit train boss thing that kept transforming? Yeah. No, I stand corrected. I remember this game. It gave me rage, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's the fact that you love it even through that. You're just like, yes. But the thing I was going to say was, looking at that game again, surface level elements, 2D side-scrolling platformer with shooter mechanics. Another freaking shooter, of course. We're Americans here, clearly. But when I think about coming back to it, and the many, many times I've played it, every single time I play it, I'm like, I love this still. I can't think of anything to make it better. Like the fact that they combined like physical attacks with the jump button and holding directions and stuff, the shooting mechanic where you mix and match your guns and stuff. Like there are so many mechanics I could just deep dive into and tell you why they're perfect. But it's one of those things where I'm like, just this crazy, also just balls to the wall action shooting game that you're so blown away by the spectacle that they pulled off on the Genesis. That you're just like, you're not even thinking about that. You're just thinking like, I want to blow up that robot, or I want to ride that spaceship, or, you know, when it's really good at making you forget that you're thinking about it, like it's hard to describe. Like you just feel so naturally, like it was one of the most natural feeling, connective player experiences I had as a kid, and I still come back to it like now.
So I have played it. My apologies. I have to correct myself one more time. John can tell you, I suck at shooters.
Okay.
He laughs, but literally he was keeping me alive in this game, and or I just died and he had to do it alone. And that game with one person and not two is hard. Mm-hmm. It is ridiculously hard. It's like, hey, Contra, come on back with that difficulty.
I think it was actually, and in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, Treasure was formed by former Konami and Capcom employees that made their own company. It's Treasure. And Treasure, unfortunately, doesn't exist anymore, but they made some games that just slap. They're perfect. They're great. I think of Guardian Heroes to this day. I'm all like, oh, I could play that forever.
So we've kind of arrived at the last example, and there are many more examples. I say many very loosely. There's probably a handful of other examples that are perfect games. And honestly, I know I might get some grief for this, and especially because this isn't in my vein of gaming, but Conker's Bad Fur Day.
I was going to say, if you just hear a gunshot, you'll know if he's wrong.
Taking you out back. End of podcast.
It's my podcast. Okay, I did that joke already.
Look at you. Can't even come up with an original line. You fired, John. You fired.
Now, trust me, if I had $1 for every joke I've stolen, cut this out.
But Conker's Bad Fur Day. I want to talk about that in the forms of perfect game. And it also has a flaw, but the story, beyond hilarious. Like, the humor in that game, the fact that they had to literally package it as adults only.
Yeah.
Like, you had the mature rating, and then you had the little label on the bottom that says, like, I remember it, like, must be over 18 to purchase.
Yeah, it's the funny thing because one of my favorite YouTubers out there is a video game donkey, and he talks about that game. He's like, the fun thing about this game was that it was imperceptible to be like, so some parent would come along and be like, oh, this is like, you see him getting honey from the bees, like, oh, this is a nice game like Banjo. Then he gets drunk and starts peeing on someone's balls. It's like, what? Oh,
So-
we played the multiplayer recently. Oh,
So
arc your salty whiz and kill your opponent. Oh my god! That was in a video game. What?
I brought my Nintendo 64 over to John's house, and we got some multiplayer action. We played a little bit of GoldenEye, which was super fun,
Mhm.
and I could talk about that one as well in the vein of a perfect game. It had a few too many flaws for it to be there, but when we got to Conker's Bad Fur Day,
My god!
there's a part in one of the Battle Royale episodes that's a bathroom. And you have, your men's, your women's, like they actually have them on the outside of the doors, no less.
There's basically a part of the map that is sectioned off to be like urinals.
Urinals.
I actually went. I talked about freaking rare so much. I actually went British. Sorry, but blimey. But I'll let you finish the story.
So John gets in there and his gun goes away. He's like, wait, what is this? And he's a teddy bear.
Uh-huh.
And his teddy bear just starts taking a leak.
Yeah, I just whip my bear dick out and piss all over the floor. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
And I'm like, oh, hold up. I'm coming in there. And I thought I could like try and kill him. And my gun goes away. And we literally had a legitimate pissing contest.
A literal pissing contest.
And
the funny thing is that like I was winning until I put my dick away.
all right, I got to get out of here. I got none left in the. Oh no, I'm dead.
Yeah. Oh god, it sucked because I was just like, no. Let me take my dick. Like I never thought while playing a video game would I be like, no fair. Like, my dick's not even out.
Like that.
I like how we put our first episode up. It was automatically marked as explicit.
Yeah, we're definitely there today, boys.
And also like the kind of stuff that you just couldn't do anymore. When we looked at the AI for the computer opponents, like you had like Genius, Master, and all these other varying AIs, and the lowest one was called Inbred.
Oh my God.
Whoa!
So the reason why I chose this game for the last one to talk about for being a perfect video game, it's stood that test of time. Like we played it. And we could have played it the entire afternoon. I think we sunk a few hours into it. Like, It was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, the story was there. I mean, the dude gets drunk, and he's trying to figure everything out. You have...
As we all do.
A giant poo monster that is singing.
We talked about the Final Fantasy VI opera scene.
I am the poo!
The great mighty poo. Yeah, that, for me, that's my opera scene.
Like... And it had done so well, and it had such a visceral reaction. It was remade back on the 360. Remember that?
It was on the original Xbox, yeah.
Oh, sorry, original Xbox. Like Conquer, Live and Reloaded.
Yep.
And they had to dumb it down. That is the last time we have had something that out there that literally said, you know what? We know these jokes are being made. We know this is being talked about. Here you go. I'm putting this in a video game. The battle mode was really fun. The story mode also really fun. It was just sheer insanity.
It was exact. We talk about perfect video games as in like they're the best examples of the thing that they tried to do, and the one thing that I think that game tried to do was to be subversive. And so they said like, okay, we are known as a company of the cutesy Banjo-Kazooies and granted they've made things like Killer Instinct before and other like rare games and stuff, but they set out to make this vulgar, trashy, but also very fun video game, and they did it.
And you like how it happened like just a few years after Congress is talking about video games being too violent.
Look, these are art. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to go pee on my friend in multiplayer. Like,
Cue R. Kelly.
And like, and said,
I'm a pee on you.
drip, drip, drip. No. Oh, God. No.
The amount of pee jokes that have been included with this game.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm thinking of more things to say about it because, like, I'm going through my own memory of playing it.
Like, so for me, multiplayer, especially in that time frame, like, you wanted a good battle royale. Like, GoldenEye, you had good multiplayer. Perfect Dark, you had good multiplayer. Jet Force Gemini was pretty good multiplayer in the story
rare
mode.
Games.
I know, right? Listen, look at what I'm doing here. Then you go to, like, Smash Brothers, good multiplayer.
Also, Rare made that one.
You had Mario Kart, good multiplayer.
Yeah, good Rare game.
Rare, you have taken over.
Yeah. Remember when Rare made Super Mario Brothers?
Super Rare Brothers.
Super Conquer Brothers.
But you go into that multiplayer, and we're doing this the other day. John gets a chainsaw.
Uh-huh.
And I'm trying to be cheeky, jump around with the samurai sword, and like hit him and cut his head off, which legitimately happens. And then you hear this.
Yeah, you actually hear death rattles from a teddy bear.
It's insane.
Oh,
like
Jesus.
the sound designer for that game deserves every type of award he can get because those sounds were awesome.
Who was it? Because there was a joke about it that Grant Kirkhope didn't do that game. Someone else did. Nah, whatever.
But I'm being cheeky, and I land, and he just hits me with the chainsaw, and my squirrel explodes. And it's just, and all you hear is zzz, and it's hilarious. And then you just hear like the slow hum of the chainsaw before it actually is activated. Like
it's the ultimate game of, like, I hate to say it this way, it's the ultimate game of grab ass. Like, you're just trying to get, you're like, come here, you chase him with a sword.
Yep.
My favorite thing, though, see, we're already talking about it because this is so fun, but what my favorite thing was when I found, like, basically the dirty, hairy revolver, and, like, the aiming in that game is not good, but it's also automatic. So I'm just walking down the lane and you coming at me with a chainsaw, I'm just like, boom, and I blow your head off. And there's no reload animation. If you hit the A button, you just go like what? Like the fuck you, I'm an anteater
let's
pose.
go! Fight!
It's the fuck you, I'm an anteater pose.
So it's like, so John touched on it. Like, even though we're talking about this in the vein of a perfect video game, like the aiming in that game is a train wreck. It's not the worst, but it is certainly not good. So they compensated, I feel, by having the auto aim as well. Like, even if you're aiming or not aiming, like, it'll help you out in an automatic way, which was awesome. You can ask John how that worked out when I throwing knifed him while he was up in a sniper nest,
which was so stupid.
Because apparently, squirrels can yeet a throwing knife all the way up a tower. God bless you, game mechanics.
God bless you, Rareware. But one of the funny things, too, is that as we're talking about it, there's a bit of nostalgia that comes through, and not necessarily for the game itself, but for a time where, like, multiplayer wasn't treated like a freaking e-sport. You know what I mean? Like, I remember playing old school fighting games and, like, competing with your friends and playing Unreal Tournament back in the day. And now all of it has been, I'm just going to say it, it's all been co-opted by this sense of, like, we're going to be professional gamers now, and we're going to take this super seriously. It's like, okay, I want to see the freaking Evo for Conquer. You know what I mean? Like, I would defy you to find, like, a more game that's made to be fun over that. You know what I mean?
Couch co-op.
Yeah, I played that game.
So couch co-op is kind of a thing of the past, and it makes me sad. Like, we'll still get it occasionally with Mario Kart or Smash,
which you can play online now. But
outside of that, like, it's very few and far in between to have a good, hey, I'm going to sit on the couch with my friend. Now the experience is I'm going to log in, and my boys are going to log into their home system, and we're going to play online, which is fine. That's a cool way to connect. It's a cool way to play games with people, but you miss that in-person connection. And, like, the Nintendo 64
that was the multiplayer system, man.
Yeah, like, it was that oddball. Like, it was a good system, but Nintendo had just pissed Sony off, and the PlayStation was destroying the 64 when it came to graphical capacity, came to processing power. Like,
they had their own, like, I mean, I'm not a programmer and I'm not a software, like a hardware engineer, but, like, they had their pros and cons. Like, there's a reason why the Saturn was a really slept on system, but, like, there's also a reason why the PlayStation was the easiest to develop for.
Yeah, but you look at it, and, like, the 64 was it was the beginning of the underpowering of the Nintendo console. Not so much in the sense that it wasn't as powerful as it could be, but if you look at what it was going against, it's kind of what we're facing right now. So the Switch is an awesome console. It's great for handheld. It's great to play hooked up. A lot of major games have come over to the Switch
and they run
because
like
of
trash.
They do, but the OLED Switch hopefully will fix some of those frame rate issues, and they have a direct Ethernet port finally, so that's going to help people for their online games.
It's one of those things where it feels like an oversight, but at the same time, they developed it to be a handheld and a portable console. And that's why the Switch Lite doesn't even have the Switch part of it.
Yeah, like they advertise it like as we're not the strongest workhorse here, but we're gonna try to provide you with the most fun options.
Yeah.
And if you look at you have your Call of Duties, you've got your Apex Legends, you've got your Fortnites, but then you look on the Nintendo, Smash. Mario Party, Mario Kart, and I would argue those are played a little bit more than the others.
It's funny because that's the most roundabout way for basically you saying Nintendo is my favorite company.
You know my opinion on that.
I know, but it's just so funny because when I think about those games too, I think about they're the pinnacle of their genre, and they have and Nintendo made all of them.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why they get away with selling Kirby for $60.
Oh,
thank you, Donkey.
But taking this back to Conker's Bad Fur Day, it was that moment of awesomeness for you and your friends. It was, as John said, it was the not cutesy game. Like you could convince your family to buy it because they just see a squirrel on the cover.
They want to see the giant M-rated and don't give this to your children.
And
it'll be fine.
It was fun. And then you could also add bots into it as well. So it could be you and friends playing the bots.
Just getting bodied by fucking robots.
Yeah, those bots, even on normal difficulty, were wrecking John and I.
Yeah, it sucked. It made it not fun. That's the one thing I would be like, that's okay.
So
switch them down to inbred and just pick them off. That's okay. Take that out of context and put it across the internet.
Well, now we know where John's tastes lie.
Oh God!
But no,
we're gonna get a whole new audience with that one. But
what's that you say? So, I mean, that's honestly been our take on different points in time. Perfect video games, like we said, from the '80s all the way to the late 2000s, early 2010s, and that's picks for both of us.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that as soon as we hit stop on this, I'm going to think of another game and be like, damn it, that's a good one too.
Save it for next time. Stay tuned. Episode 77.
Episode 2.1.
John remembers a game.
I love these titles. John remembers a thing. Oh, yeah. It's like, I got to go to the store and get some milk. Episode over.
I just imagine you're out and about and all of a sudden the light bulb noise, it's like, ding!
No, I'll be asleep and I'll be resting and then my eyes will just crash open Sonic 3.
So thank you guys again for listening. I know we said, give us comments and everything in the last episode. We kind of put the cart before the horse there, so everything is actually live now.
So don't do it. What is this? Where's this going?
Oh, we didn't have our Facebook group, we didn't have our Instagram, surprise everyone, we are so we're kind of everywhere we can be. If you look for
especially in your ears right now.
I know, right? Subliminal messaging.
You should give us money. That's not subliminal. That's direct messaging.
Direct order. But we're on Facebook. Games with John and James. We're on Instagram. We are on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music. So whatever platform you prefer to listen to, like us on Instagram and give us a follow. We have our link tree there, which will break everything down for you, and you can go on any of them and give it a listen for however you prefer. And I just want to say again, thanks for listening to us. This is a lot of fun to give you guys, and we look forward to episode 3.
It's a lot of fun for all of us. So yeah. And while you're there, leave a comment. What's your perfect video game? Let us know.
Yeah. We want you to be as involved as we are with this. We're just having a good time. This is basically our bro moment. And
we're recording the two of us sitting on the couch and talking about video games. That's what the show is.
It's that remember Arnold Schwarzenegger, that weird zoom in? It's the weird handshake where it's just let's and flex.
Yeah.
That's our moment for this. And we want you guys to be as involved with this as we are, because we want to continue pushing stuff for you. So let us know. Let us know on Instagram. Let us know on Facebook what you think. Give us your perfect video games, or give us your opinions of why these might be wrong, so we can
tell
talk
us,
about
tell us
it.
why we're wrong, because we want to fight you.
John over here, I'm going to pick a fight with every kid on the internet. That goes well.
This will make my first grade bully really, really upset. I'm standing up for myself. Everybody knows. I'm just going to stop. That's going to go a dark place.
Oh, no. So, but thanks again, guys. I'm James.
I'm John.
And this is Games with John and James, signing off.
See you on episode 3, y'all.
See ya.
Peace.